Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, episode 75 of the Mystery Reviews. Now, I gave the hints for this one was Christmas and terrorism, which technically this movie wasn't exactly an act of terrorism with how they did it. They were robbers and whatnot. And this is one of the most debated Christmas films, non-traditional Christmas films as they call them, out there. So yeah, this film is indeed Die Hard. Now I'm going to go to my talking points so we can get into discussing this. So yes, a movie that was or that has drawn so much debate as whether it was a Christmas movie. Die Hard is directed by John McTiernan, who has confirmed it is a Christmas movie. Stars Bruce Willis, who says it's not a Christmas movie. Alan Rickman, the late Alan Rickman. Bonnie Bedelia, Reginald VelJohnson, and also recently passed away Clarence Gilliard, along with Paul Gleason. Produced by Joel Silver. An action-packed movie that takes place on Christmas Eve, ends with a Christmas song, and a movie known for some of the best one-liners ever. So yeah, I like how this movie starts with John McClane just coming in from a plane or coming in as a plane lands. He's talking with a guy, and he tells him about making fists with your toes or scrunching your toes, essentially. On a nice soft area from where you are, and it helps with jet lag. And this movie also does have good cinematography. I like how we're introduced to the party. Holly Gennaro's character, Jackass Ellis, her boss, and whatnot. And how she's talking with her kids. And she ends up putting her husband's photo or the photo of her and the kids and John, the photo, she just puts it flat on the table so it's not looked at, you know? And that actually does come to play on later in the film. So we also get introduced to Argyle, who's a limo service or a rented limo driver for Takagi, bringing John McClane here or to the building at Nakatomi Plaza. I do like the character of Argyle. He's played by an actor, Devereaux Brown, I believe his name is. He played it great, man. The way that he responds to John McClane and the way that he talks with him, the way that Bruce Willis acts this role is or portrays this role is he is a guy that is trying to pick up the pieces of a shattered marriage, and he's trying to make it work. He doesn't want to divorce Holly. He doesn't want Holly to leave. He wants his freaking family, you know? And she is making it hard on him by not really or by doing all sorts of different things that kind of triggers him. And hello to Vanja. Good to see you. You're not late. I'm only at the beginning still, so thank you for coming in. Make sure to smash that like and share the stream out. If you need any links to my social medias, folks, they are all in the description below. All of them. So make sure you support me there. It truly does help. I'm trying to get the 1,200 before the New Year's. Let's see if I can actually reach that milestone. So the party introduces Ellis, the asshole coke addict who seems pissed off at that Holly got the position he wanted, apparently. And I absolutely love how when John McClane gets there, he searches McClane, see if there's McClane to see where his wife is at the building. Well, he knows immediately after he hits the M, she used her other name, her maiden name, Gennaro. And so he's like, are you fucking kidding me? And so he goes up, and Takagi, the boss of Holly, takes him to her office where she might be. And there's Ellis running a freaking line on her office table. It's like, are you freaking serious, man? And I love how Bruce Willis handles it. He's like, you missed some. And dude just sniffs it or puts it away. And he also tries wiping it off. And it's absolutely hilarious how this dude is not fired or arrested. I mean, this dude is running coke or ran a line in the freaking office of a cop's wife. And it's like, oh my God. So, but John McClane is more paying attention to the fact that there is a picture that's flat down. He picks it up, sees that it's them, and this pisses him off even more. And he's like, you got a place that I can freshen up and whatnot? And they're like, yeah, there's a room over there. And so Holly shows up in there, and you see that they're having a nice little talk, and he's also doing the whole scrunchy thing with the toes and whatnot. And he notices, or he confronts her on the whole using her maiden name thing. And he's like, not when you're cashing Chanel, or notice you're using Gennaro, or you didn't have a problem using McClane when you were cashing the checks and whatnot. So he's pissed off, and he has a right to be. I mean, he's trying to fix things with his wife, but she's making it very hard for him. Now, so it really is I'm on freaking McClane's side in this. I mean, you see that he has a temper, not physically abusive, but he's sick of the shit that keeps getting flung his way, essentially. Now, we also get to the terrorists arriving and how it does a good job at setting up the different personalities in a very short manner. The two German brothers, one is trying to cut the alarms to make sure that once the phones and everything else gets cut, they won't be able to, or it won't set off any alarms. Well, his other brother, the brother Carl, takes a freaking chainsaw. Sorry, I forgot the word. And he just runs it through the power lines, cutting the phone conversation from McClane to Argyle, who's in the parking garage with the limo. He's wondering what the heck happened and whatnot, but then they get up to the 30th floor and shots are fired. We're kicking the shindig off. So Alan Rickman's savvy, where he goes over Takagi's entire life story looking for him, shows that this is a smart bad guy. Alan Rickman played a smart bad guy when it came to this film. He didn't play one that was stupid. He played a very smart bad guy. That's one of the things I liked about Hans Gruber in this. He was smart. He didn't he wasn't gonna screw around when things were screwing around with him, you know? So when he gets Takagi and they start going to a more private place to talk about code, so that this is a robbery, they're not terrorists, they're there to rob the place with $640 million of negotiable bearer bonds. And John, when the terrorists are taking hostages, John is looking out, and some of the terrorists in the room over or adjacent to John McClane is that there's a topless woman in there who was getting it on with one of the guys. And the bad guys are all looking at her with their sneering grins and whatnot because, her shirt's still off and whatnot. Well, this gives John a chance to slip out. And so he gets out. Now, it's like, there you go. So now that John has his gun, he's still barefoot. That's the problem. That's also another great part of the storytelling that is put throughout this film. One of the things that I really like about Die Hard and the Die Hard films, all of them, because I do like all the Die Hard films. I'm not afraid to admit that, even the third one. He gets his ass kicked throughout these films. He gets his ass beaten, broken, shot, tossed around, and all of that. And it shows the hurt that this man has gone through, man. He's constantly like, oh my God. He is like seriously constantly battered up and beaten up at the end of each movie. And I love it because it shows that he's human. This isn't a superhero film. This is an action-packed movie that shows a human element of getting seriously hurt, but still doing what you do because you know it's right. So yeah, continuing on. Let's see here. Also, you see that John is looking at these terrorists through different doors, seeing the guided missiles, and then the elevator scene with Takagi and Rickman's character Hans. He's like, or he names the suit where it's from, and he's like, I have two myself. Rumor is that Arafat gets his suits there. Now, for those of you who don't know, Yasser Arafat was one of the big bads of the real world. Just look him up. And so we then get that they're threatening Takagi, saying that he wants a code. He doesn't have the code. And he's like, it's useless to you. Even if even if I knew it, it's useless to you. You're not going to be able to get through the 7 gates to get into the vault. It's not possible. Well, they blow his head off. And this shows that Hans Gruber's not messing around. I like how they do that. They show that he's not messing around. And this is a guy that's to be taken very seriously, not lightly. So then he's like, now you can open the vault. You didn't bring me here for my personality. Clarence Gilliard plays the guy that's cracking open the vault. And he does a good job at being a tech dude that's very high on ego, but also is maniacal in a way as well. Now, they do also show the or before that, I love how after they have the shot, you also hear John McClane. He's like, tell me you heard the shot, Argyle. Please. Tell me you're calling the police and stuff. Cut down to Argyle. He's drinking. He's talking with his friend, music blaring. And he didn't hear those shots. So it's like, oh, shit. Okay, so more shit flung at McClane. So then we see this wide shot that shows on one side of the scene is Alan Rickman. In the middle, there's the vault, but on the other side is Clarence Gilliard's character. Now, this is from Letterboxd screening. Now, I do remember, or if you have a digital library like Vudu, and you have the or movies anywhere, and you have Bruce or the Die Hard film, you will have a special feature that explains the use of Letterboxd and the reason why they chose to go Letterboxd back in the 80s. Because on the TV, you only get like from here to here. Everything else to the sides is gone. So it's like, it's a box because we didn't have the widescreen TVs at the time. Well, now or so how they did that for when they did conversion to wide or conversion to full screen is that they did cut. When one guy is talking, they cut to him. The other guy is talking, they cut to them. But however, it's in the same frame. So McTiernan actually wanted to use Letterboxd because he enjoyed the wider aspect ratio of Letterboxd. Now, I also like how John McClane is talking to himself. He's like, "Why didn't you save him, John? Why didn't you stop him? Because you'd be dead, asshole." I mean, I love how he's constantly yelling at himself, talking to himself, and whatnot. And then he pulls the fire alarm, hoping that, or you see the fire people coming, but then they clip the alarm. So they also show that it's a false alarm. Sorry about that, and yada, yada. And he's like, "Come on, keep coming. I'll fucking kiss your Dalmatian." But then they stop. They turn around, false alarm. And he's seeing this, and he's like, "Fuck," and whatnot. Well, now one of the German brothers, Carl's brother, ends up going after McClane on the 31st floor. And he gets the jump on him by McClane, or McClane gets the jump on him. And the guy's like, "You're not going to shoot me." "Oh, yeah?" And he tells him, "I'm a cop." He's like, "That's why you're not going to shoot me. You're a cop. You have rules." "That's what my boss keeps telling me." And then he gets into a fight with the guy, and I love how he keeps on talking. He's like, "Yeah, you motherfucker," and whatnot. And they fall down the stairs. German guy breaks his neck. So he gets more intel. These guys are European because of the cigarettes, the accents, and whatnot, or in a fake ID. And I really do like how this movie does a good job at showing that McClane is competent. He's gaining all the intel he can from these guys, knowing what's going on so he can help the situation when the cops arrive, if the cops arrive. So, yeah, he then gets up to the roof. And but before that, we see he's back in the elevator. He puts Carl's brother in the elevator. "Now I got a machine gun, ho, ho, ho," that scene. And he hears all of them talking to each other. And has a marker that he's writing down everything. The number of people he's come across that are hostiles, Hans, Carl, and he's gaining more intel. This is a smart individual, McClane. This is how you do it back in the 80s, if something like this happened. Now, fun personal note, this movie had a game for the PlayStation 1, the PS1, and it had the whole trilogy in one disc that you could play. I never could get past certain levels. My brother, the middle child of us, he, I believe, beat the first, or the Die Hard 1 game. So it's like, damn it. I never could. But yeah, congrats to my brother who managed to do so. Now, back to that, or to the movie. The older brothers ticked off, and they realize that, or Holly realizes it's John that's most likely the one in doing this, and Ellis is pissed off that he's playing the hero. Well, it's like, he's gonna get or we should just wait for the cops and whatnot. And he's like, "Yeah, tell that to," and Holly's like, "Yeah, tell that to Takagi." So he calls help on the emergency channel with the CB, or with the walkie-talkie up on the roof. And the people at the emergency dispatch is like, "This channel is for emergencies only." "No fucking shit, lady. What, does it sound like I'm ordering a fucking pizza?" Or it's like, "No fucking shit, lady. Do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?" Now, this is when he gets shot at. And how these two or they heard the gunfire because they pull their receivers off from around their ears. And it's like, they just cavalierly call a unit, have them take a look. You just heard gunfire. I'm sorry, this is one of the bad writing situations. This movie isn't perfect, folks. This movie does have a bad writing situation. This is where the people at the dispatch would have said, we heard gunshots, we heard gunfire at Nakatomi Plaza. Have a unit take a look. But it would have also led to that unit's death because they would have been coming in with their lights going and whatnot. So they asked for a unit to take a look, and we're introduced to Al Powell, who is buying some snacks for his wife, but also for him. And he's the cop to investigate. Now, Reginald VelJohnson, man, great actor. This dude is a great actor from 80s television and 90s television fame. I believe the show he was in was Family Matters with his whole family and whatnot. And it's a great show. I grew up watching it every season or every episode in the morning. I always loved watching it. Now, he goes and looks at the Nakatomi. He sees some flashes up there, but he thinks it's just the lights. But it's actually the gunfire on the roof. Now, it shows, or I also do like the score to this film. Who did the score for Die Hard? I think it's Goldsmith. Who did the score for Die Hard? Goldsmith? Nope, Michael Kamen. He wrote the score for Die Hard and its two subsequent sequels, Die Hard 2 and 3. Well, he did a good job with the music on this one and the music on the other one, because I also watched Die Hard 2, which is also a Christmas movie. It's actually more of a Christmas movie than the first one. Die Hard 2 takes place on Christmas Eve, and Christmas is mentioned throughout the film, as well as it ends with with the same song at the end of this one. But yes, he really sells the action and suspense and the danger, Bruce Willis does, as well as the score. Now, Carl is chasing after this guy because this is the guy that killed his brother, and Hans is saying the cops are no doubt on their way, pull back so they don't hear the guns. And Carl's looking for this guy, and there's another guy holding the walkie-talkie. Carl reaches back, grabs the walkie-talkie, and just breaks the damn thing, essentially, or turns it off, because he doesn't care. He wants blood. This is when things go bad for the bad guys. So we get the nice shot of him getting into the air ducts. And he has a lighter, and he lights the lighter. He's like, come out to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs. That famous scene from in the air duct, which is a great scene. Powell arrives and needs convincing. He checks out the first floor. There's nothing seemingly wrong. And he's like, oh, screw this shit. And he walks out just before. Now, if he would have gone any further into the building, he would have been killed. There were guys waiting back there ready to kill him, and it shows that. Well, as he's pulling out, you see John McClane freaking pissed off he's like ignoring him, but also John McClane killed another bad guy, so he's like, how am I going to, well, throw the bad guy out the window. And the bad guy lands on the freaking car. And I love how Powell, he's like, great, freaking out, because now he's also getting shot at because, well, now the jig is up. And he ends up driving his car off an embankment that leans the car up like this, at this kind of angle. And he reports that shots fired, immediate backup needed at Nakatomi. Well, now the jig is up. And well, Hans is talking to people. It's like, we were expecting this. This is what we are aiming for and whatnot. And well, that's when John starts contacting him, taunting him, and whatnot. And we get the famous line, "Yippee ki motherfucker!" And we get the asshole reporter Thornburg, who's pissed off because he wants the story to report or to cover at Nakatomi. Well, they finally tell him take car 5 or truck 5 and get the hell out of here. And Powell tries calling McClane, and he calls him Roy instead, or he goes by Roy, or McClane goes by Roy to cover his identity. And then he gives him all the intel he has. So because of all this, the police start arriving in force. And let me just cut up some of the unneeded talking points here. And so the police arrive in force, and we get Paul Gleason, who is Dwayne something, or Dwayne, which comes in handy later. I call him the Breakfast Club cop because he's the same asshole that he was in the Breakfast Club. He was the principal he was the teacher that was presiding over the detention for the kids in Breakfast Club. And he's an asshole in this movie too. Now, Holly comes in, makes a request, and I love the acting between her and Alan Rickman. They're like, "What idiot put you in charge?" "You did." And he just looks up. He's like, "What?" "When you killed my boss." Now, I do like that he's a pragmatist. Alan Rickman's character is not just a cold-hearted killing machine. He's also a realist. He's a pragmatist. And he's like, we have a lady out there who's pregnant. And don't worry, she's not due for another couple of weeks, but this is sitting on stone is not doing any good for her back. So I would like, with your permission, to take her to a room with a sofa. He's like, "No, but we can have a sofa brought out to her, or out for you." Fair enough. Also, unless you like it messy, I suggest you start letting people taking groups to the bathrooms. He's like, "Yeah, good idea. All right." And so she's like, "Okay." And then she walks away, and he's like, and he asks her name, and she's like, "Gennaro, Holly Gennaro." And while she's doing this, she was also looking at the pictures with the kids, or with her kids, and also seeing that the other picture is still down. Good for that picture being down for a bit. Now, Argyle starts listening in with the CB, hearing that there's Nakatomi Plaza, or shots fired at Nakatomi, and he's like, "What the heck?" And that that they're communicating with CB that he's hearing this on the news. Well, we also hear Breakfast Club cop being more of an idiot, making all the mistakes, and John warned him not to come in. Well, now they put the lights up and whatnot, and it's like they start shooting at him. They're just shooting at us. They're random. And you see Powell, he's like, "They're shooting at the lights." Well, then the lights behind them start shattering, as well as the other lights. "They're shooting at the lights." Really? Yeah. We know, you dumbass. I absolutely love these scenes because it shows the incompetence of a person who does not belong in charge at a scene like this. And hold on one moment, folks, please. Sorry, I'm also having problems with my Chromebook charging. There we go. But anyway, getting back to it. Where was I? Shooting out the lights and whatnot. And so they start to bring in the RV. And let's see here. We see that the RV gets stuck and they use one of the rocket or their portable rockets to shoot it. Now, you also see that, oops, sorry about that, folks. Hold on one moment. Anyway, definitely going to need to get a new charger because this one doesn't want to work. But anyway, sorry about that, folks. Where was I? Ah, yes, the rocket taking out the RC or V. Now, that's a good shot of pyrotechnics. However, I also like how the acting is because McClane's like, come on, man, they're done. You made your point. Give them a chance to fall back. And he's like, thank you for your input, Mr. Cowboy. I'll take it under advisement. Hit it again. And so they show that the cops are not willing to listen to any intel that McClane gives them. So in order to stop them from doing it again, McClane makes an improvised explosive device using some of the C4 and detonators and puts a computer monitor, one of those big boys, the big fat ones from the 80s, on a chair, throws it down the elevator chute or shaft. Now, he's talking to Al, and he's like, "You guys see that?" And he's like, "Was it or the building's or is the building on fire? Not on fire, but it's going to need one hell of a paint job and some screen doors." Well, now Breakfast Club cop is like, "Is that the other or is that guy? Let me talk to this guy." And he's like, "Listen, you asshole! I'm not the one that just got butt fucked on national TV, Dwayne." And that is one of the best freaking that is one of the best lines. A lot of people are like, "Yippee ki yay, motherfucker!" Well, I'm not the one who just got butt fucked on national TV, Dwayne. That does almost kind of sound like it could be a fitting thing for Dwayne Johnson with the failure of Black Adam. But anyway, so we get He's like, fine, just whatever, talk with him yourself and whatnot. Ellis is now high on coke and decides to get himself killed by going in to talk to Hans. And he gives the skinny on frickin' McClane, doesn't give up his wife or anything, but he's like, or he does tell him that McClane and him are friends. They have been for years. And Ellis is like, dude, or John McClane's warning him. He's like, you shouldn't be doing this, man. These people are dangerous. They'll kill you. And then he's like, Hans, I don't even know this guy. I only met him a few hours ago. And he ends up getting himself killed. And he wants the detonators because, well, McClane has the detonators and he's not going to give them up. And everybody's listening to this. And when Ellis is killed, the cops are like, this dude, just let that man be killed. And Powell's like, can you even smell the shit that you're shoveling right now? He had no choice. If he gives them the detonators, that makes them more dangerous. You know, it kind of makes sense. It's unfortunate that a hostage was killed. It is indeed unfortunate. But when you're the only person that's able to take care of this whole situation, or if you're able to handle this situation by yourself, you gotta weigh the situation. And this dude put himself in that situation. Ellis did that to himself. He got himself killed. So yeah, there is that kind of debate. And I really love how that whole scene was handled. So we then see the cop is pissed off over it. And Hans starts giving phony demands to keep the police and the FBI before they get there busy. And there's these guys from Canada, Ireland, and China, Asian Dawn. And these are revolutionaries to be released and whatnot. And then choppers, obviously. Well, they're handling that. And he's like, well, that's to keep them occupied. Now, I like how that story progresses there because you also see Carl looking at him, Dawn? Mouthing the word to him, Dawn, like that. He's like, read about them in Time magazine. So, yeah, he basically makes them, he's spinning a tail for the cops. And John McClane is hearing this. He's like, this is complete bullshit. He knows that it's all bullshit. But, the cops on the ground, they're stupid, they're incompetent. And so when the FBI finally gets over, they start taking over. Hans comes across John while he goes to look for the detonators up on the roof to make sure everything is all right. He actually told Carl to go looking for the detonators. Well, he ends up running across John. And John talks with him. And he starts using this phony bullshit American accent. But it works. He sounds weaselly and whatnot. And he gives the name Bill Clay. Well, there happens to be a name thing right there next to Hans there. And he ends up seeing that there is indeed a Clay and a WM for William. So Bill. I never understood the connection, but whatever. So we get Bill Clay. And he's like, you ever done any shooting, Bill? And he's like, I did some shooting at a target range once and the red paint and whatnot. Well, time for the real thing. And he hands him his sidearm. Well, as he's walking away, he hears Bill start talking in German. And he's like, oh, well, Hans. He immediately set him up in that situation. It's like, give him my detonators and whatnot. He's like, no, I don't think it will. And he's like, I'm going to count to 3. Oh, like you did for Takagi? And he pulls the trigger. Oh, no bullets. What the fuck? You think I'm stupid? He pulls the gun out of his hand. Well, unfortunately, that's when the elevator door dings and reinforcements showed up. You were saying, fuck. So during that scene, Hans also noticed that John was barefoot. So when they're shooting at him, he realizes this and he's like, shoot the glass. And they end up shooting the glass everywhere. And John notices, he realizes, oh shit, I'm barefoot now, man. Well, he manages to get out there and they get the detonators back. So unfortunate trade-off. Hold on one moment. We then see that them get down there and Carl is still smashing shit because he's pissed off. And I love how Holly's like, he's alive. How do you know? Only John can drive someone that crazy. Well, John's now in the one of the bathrooms. His feet are all cut up because of the broken glass. And he's talking with Al. And he's basically just taking his mind off the pain while he's pulling glass out of his foot. And Al, he's like, I figured you got flat feet? What does that have to do with anything? Guy like you, like I said, I figured you for the street. Well, I couldn't do it anymore. Why not? I shot a kid. It was dark. He had a ray gun. It looked real enough. And there's a real good moment there where he's like, I just couldn't bring myself to draw my sidearm anymore. It really is a touching story. It's bad enough that, yeah, that is a bad situation, but the kid had a ray gun, and it looked real. So how a lot of cops come across situations like those where they have something that looks like a gun pointed at you. What do you do in those situations, It's really bad situations, and they show them in other movies as well, where cops had to do or shot because a gun was drawn on them. And people continue to say, well, it's the cop's fault. You got to make those decisions, but that's a debate for another time. So the FBI plans to double cross when they talk with Hans. And during this whole time, the seventh gate to the vault is still preventing them from getting in. Well, he's like, well, the FBI should be coming any moment, and they'll be cutting power to the building. You want your Christmas miracle? Here you go. They cut power to the building, which cuts power to the seventh and final obstacle between them and the Barabons. And it's Christmas time. You hear the joyful, joyful singing and whatnot. That is a nice touch where they did that. So the FBI is planning a double cross with air support. It's a loaded gunship. John asks Al to give him a last message to the wife if he fails. And the reporter is at McClane's or Holly's house because they finally got the name of John McClane and they looked him up and whatnot. And the reporter blackmails the nanny and it's like, you let those kids come out right now or I call INS. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me right now? The INS, I believe, was immigration, sort of like the customs immigration enforcement and whatnot, or something like that. Can't remember it. This was the 80s, so but she got scared enough, so yeah. As McClane goes, or he's like, what was Hans doing up there, And he sees the C4 on the roof and he realizes it's double cross. So now but Carl has found him. And now it's John McClane versus Carl. and Holly's in the office talking to Hans, and they see the news, and it's like, oh shit. Her reaction tips off Hans. Well, now Hans knows that those are the kids. He lifts up the picture that was tipped down and realizes, well, that's Holly McClane. We're going to take her as the main hostage. Get everybody else back up on the roof, or get everybody else up on the roof. Well, the FBI is willing to lose hostages, because you hear when they're talking to each other, we'll probably lose 25% of the hostages. Yeah, that's acceptable. And you see the one older FBI agent, he's like, or they're Johnson & Johnson, by the way. No relation. One guy's white, the other guy's black. And he's like, it's just like Saigon, hey, boy? He's like, I was in middle school, you jackass. Because they're getting ready to shoot the bad guys when they get up there. I mean, this is all just bad freaking cop decision making, except for McClane. Well, McClane is fighting with Carl, and he's like, I'm going to cook you, or I'm going to kill you, I'm going to cook you, and I'm going to fucking eat you. And it's just so freaking great, man. So John gets up on the roof with the rest of them, wondering where his family is or where his wife is. And they're like, she's down near the vault with the terrorists and whatnot. He's like, everybody needs to get off the roof. The roof is going to explode. Well, they're not listening, so he uses the MP5 and he starts firing in the air to scare them down. He's like, get off the roof. Well, the FBI starts shooting at him. He's like, I'm on your side, you fucking assholes. I mean, nothing can go right for McClane in this movie. So he grabs the fire hose on the roof and jumps off the freaking roof to get away from the shooting gunship at him. And he manages to get free by shooting out a window and repelling into the window, essentially. Well, we are now close to the climax of this. And the FBI Hans blows the roof, killing the gunship and the FBI that were in there. And you see dumbass Breakfast Club cop, we're going to need some more FBI guys. Wow. You are indeed a genius, man. So, yeah. We get McClane getting down to the vault, and he realizes he only has 2 bullets left, and he uses some duct tape to his back to put the gun behind his back so he can reach back, boom, or back, draw, boom, boom, which he does. And Argyle decides to move, or during this time, Argyle is moving his limo and decides to stop Theo, Clarence Gilliard's character, from getting out with a emergency vehicle that's disguised for their getaway. And I just love how he crashes in and he goes up and just punches the dude out with one shot, and it's like, Argyle, all right, man, good job. So Argyle saves the day, stops the bad guys from being able to get out. And when freaking McClane shows up, Hans, this shows that freaking McClane is just, when his wife sees him, she's like, Jesus. It's kind of obvious that this dude is looking all bloodied and blistered and broken and freaking bleeding and whatnot. It's just like, holy crap, dude. And I love it. And he's like, hey, honey. And so he's holding an empty gun on him, and he's like, and you get the line, he's like, what was it you said to me earlier? Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. And they start laughing and laughing and laughing. Yeah, laughing. Boom. And then boom. Shoots the other guy over there. 2 great shots. Happy trails, Hans. Well, Hans still has a hold of Holly. So we get the window shot. The suspense there, man, where he's looking up at him. He's ready to shoot him. And she's screaming. And you see the Rolex. Now, this Rolex was mentioned earlier in the film and whatnot. It was a gift to Holly for getting the promotion by Ellis gave it to her and what such. Well, yeah, that can't fly. The Rolex that saves Nakatomi Plaza, folks. Now we then see Hans fall to his death because he was holding on to the watch because that was the only thing he could gain purchase on. And hello, Ruben Thomas, good to see you. And that's when he falls. So then all is going well, and there was one guy left behind, which was Carl. He was hanging from a chain. Should have been dead, but when McClane is out there, he's laughing with Powell, and he's in a blanket with Holly, and they're all thinking everything's fine and safe and dandy and whatnot. Well, it's not exactly the case. Carl breaks up with his weapon still, and he's getting ready to shoot John. Well, everybody else gets down, and you see that Powell goes for his sidearm. And then you hear the sidearm going off and fake muzzle flashes. Like seriously fake muzzle flashes. And you see that Powell drew his weapon finally and manages to save the day. Well, also, folks, Powell's a hero. Holy fucking shit. For all you SJWs out there that's saying, oh, only black or white guys are the real heroes of 80s films. Actually, fucking Powell actually managed to save John McClane's life. So, yeah. Mr. Ryan. How you doing, Christian? Good to see you. And then we get the reporter who blackmailed the nanny and put the kids in danger by putting them on freaking public national television. And he asks the McClanes, is there anything that they want to say about this? Well, Holly freaking slugs the reporter. Just like, pow, like really good. And he reacts to it and he's like, did you get that? And it's seen on national television. And then it's explained later that she apparently knocked out 2 of his teeth. And there's a 50-yard restraining order placed on her, which is funnier than hell. So, yeah. Then Argyle shows up and gives them a ride. He's like, if this is what it's like for Christmas, I can't wait for New Year's, man. And they start kissing in a limo, and he drives them off to the song, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow. Christmas movie. Now, one thing, like I said, I like about Die Hard films is that he gets put through the ringer in every single one of them. He's banged up after each movie, and it shows that he is not superhuman. Now, as for the scoring, we're going to get to scoring right now. Objectively, the film has a little bit of logic and writing issues. Suspension of disbelief can be put in the subjective, but objectively, there are problems here with this movie. Bad CGI with the explosions and with with the gunshot of Powell's sidearm with a very urine yellow muzzle flash, which was fake for that scene and whatnot and such. These are scenes that the explosion that drops from the drop C4 should have been handled a little bit better, but obviously they couldn't blow up a building. However, the poor quality of the explosion does take a point or two off, along with some of the writing and acting. Other than that, I would say that this film objectively is an 8 8, yeah, 8 out of 10. This film could be better with some of the acting from other side characters. However, for the most part, this film is freaking brilliantly done, directed, and whatnot. It's the special effects that hurt it the most, the absolute most. And other than that, this film measures up great. Subjectively, it's 10 out of 10. It's one of my favorite Christmas films of all time. Right up there with the latest one that came out, Violent Night, with David Harbour. Now, moviegoer, it's pure enjoyment. It's definitely a 10 out of 10. So this movie is incredibly fun to watch. It's an action movie. You don't get much better than that. Now, for future mystery reviews, folks, I have a new thumbnail or new thumbnails. You can go over to my Instagram or Orange Hat Reviews. It's in the description below. You can look at the new thumbnails for New Year's movies. These are all going to be movies that I haven't seen before, or if I have seen them in any sort of capacity, it's only 1 or 2 scenes that I have seen them. I have not seen them in their entirety. So with a new year, it's going to be new movies that I haven't seen. Not all new movies. These movies are going to be 90s, 60s, and other stuff, but they're movies that are new to me. So yes, those are going to be new movie mystery reviews for New Year's. And February will be movies that have an aspect of romance in them, or might actually be romantic genre. So definitely tune in for those. Thank you so much. The hints for next mystery review is going to be a Tarantino film that I haven't seen. I've seen many of them, but not all of them. I will give more hints throughout the week on Twitter. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. You all have a wonderful New Year's, and I will see you on Tuesday the 3rd? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday? Yep, the 3rd. Thank you to Vanja, Ruben Thomas, and Christian Freites for joining the stream. You all have a wonderful holiday, and if you catching this on the replay, like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What did you think of Die Hard? Do you think it's a Christmas movie? Do you think it's not? What are your thoughts? Leave them all in the comment section below, folks. Thank you so much for joining in. Have a wonderful New Year's. This has been Orange Hat Reviews. Stay humble.